Hello guys, and welcome to a brief slideshow that I put together centered around periodization models. We'll be looking at two of the most common ones and what are the difference between them. We'll be looking at why they're effective and how you can use these systems with your clients and athletes. So one of the most important things we must recognize is what periodization is. And this is the systematic planning of athletic and physical training. And this is really important when you're looking to periodize and plan exactly what you're doing with your athletes and clients. Now, the aim of this is to reach the best possible performance in the most important competition of the year. Now, if you're working with personal training clients and it's centered around weight management and body composition, it could be a 3-month window in which you want to get the most effective results for them. It involves progressing cycles of various aspects of a training program during a specific time period, and this is really important in you predicting the outcomes of what you want to achieve with your clients and athletes. Now, before we get into any of the meaty stuff, it's really important that we understand some of the basic periodic cycles, because this will help us in our long-term planning and development of our athletes' programs. Now, some of them include quadrennial, macro, meso, micro, and workouts. Now, I'll just run through those quickly. Quadrennial, you'll tend to use this with Olympic athletes when you have like 4-year window. It's a multi-year plan and you're looking at getting them ready for the games. You'll have that gap in which you have to plan for. But some of the most common ones are macro, meso, micro that you'll be familiar with, but I'll just run through those. Macro being the description of a complete training year. It could be just slightly under a year, but it's your long-term kind of game here. You're looking at what you're trying to achieve over the window of a year. Whereas your meso is a description of a singular training block, and this tends to be around 3 to 4 weeks. Your micro is a description of a structural unit, and this tends to be week-on-week basis. And your workouts, or your hours and minutes, they are what you're doing within that workout. And these very much make up your periodic cycles of your periodization. And it's really important to understand these things if you're looking at developing an athlete's cycle and planning for them. Now we've cleared up some of the basics, we are going to look at the periodization systems of linear and non-linear and look at what those are when they differentiate against each other. So the linear periodization system is the classic method, the one that most people recognize, and it was originally created by Leo Matveyev. It traditionally consists of a hypertrophy phase, a strength phase, a power phase, and a restorative phase, and each meso is directed towards a singular goal, which makes it easy to understand and effective. As you can see on this slide, there's an inverse relationship between volume and intensity, where your first blocks of training start with high volume, and as you grow through your stages, intensity rises and the volume deteriorates. This is what linear periodization traditionally is, and it makes things easy to understand and work. This slide exemplifies how linear periodization should look, and what it shows is how load grows over the coming weeks and how your volume reduces. It also shows a deload week on week 5 and the restorative phase on your final week at week 10. Okay, so now we move on to non-linear, or otherwise referred to as undulating periodization. It was originally popularized by the famous Dr. Yuri Verkhoshansky, and some camps consider this type a more balanced system to programming. It's probably because you can train physiological qualities simultaneously, and this is seen as being really effective and flexible. Now, you can undulate your focus daily, weekly, or monthly. What this schematic shows us is how we shift from intensity focus to volume focus between different cycles and phases. Now, as we spoke about previously, this could be done on a daily basis, a weekly basis, or a monthly basis, and that is completely up to you and how you want to set up your system. However, what it does show us is how this is different from the linear model. So again, just to give you guys some examples of what undulating periodization may look like, we have an example of weekly undulating and daily undulating on the next slide. But as you can clearly see, the repetition brackets on both weekly and daily undulate in a fashion that helps grow intensity. And this can be effective as you get to train various strength qualities simultaneously all at once, which is in contrast to the linear model. To conclude this brief introduction to linear and non-linear periodization models, we know that they're the most common, and we also understand that research clearly shows that planned periodization results in greater strength gains than non-planned at all. So it's important we periodize our work. What we do understand also is that the biggest difference between nonlinear and linear is that nonlinear changes training volume and intensity frequently. We also can see that DUP, daily undulated periodization, is the most common undulating system out there. And some of the research points towards DUP as the most effective system for strength and muscular adaptations. This is most likely because we train them simultaneously. However, there's some debate on this topic and we must research further. Conversely, some research shows that the linear system provides more structure and allows for better focus as the athlete has one specific thing to focus on. Now, this could be a great thing for client adherence and of course that aids better results. But what we must remember as coaches is that the bottom line is periodized work is more beneficial than if we didn't do it at all. What we must also recognise is that these two periodization models are not the only ones. However, they're the most common. The stepwise method and overreaching are the other two that we can cover in another presentation. As always, I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you take something away from it, and of course, leave your comments in the comment section below. Thanks again, Andy Polides.